Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. It's me, Matterpillar, and today we are doing more historic decks. This time it is in the form of mono red dragons. Now in historic there are definitely multiple different ways you can build a dragons deck. I have specifically chosen mono red for a couple of reasons. One, I'm a huge fan of the mono red control big red decks, especially over I prefer them to the aggro decks. And the other reason is we can ramp and play our dragons very quickly. We can get Drakuseth out on turn 4. For that matter, we can get any of our dragons out on turn 4, which is insane when this happens. You get Drakuseth on turn 4. If our opponent doesn't have an answer for that, they'll probably just scoop. And if they don't scoop, they're pretty much dead in 2 turns. So perfect. Let's go through the deck from 1-drop upwards. Our 1-drops start with 3 copies of Dragon Master Outcast. Now you could run 4 copies quite happily. I may change this in the future to have 4 copies when I've got more mythic tokens. I don't have many left. I've got 5, which sounds like a lot now saying it, but I have other decks I need to build, and I'm trying to just spread my mythics across a couple of decks rather than pumping them all into one deck and being like, well now I can't build this other deck I want to talk about, or this other deck that I want to play. So 3. You could run 4. So Dragon Master Outcast, technically a 1-drop. You can play it on turn 1, turn 2, etc., etc. as a 1/1 to trade against the creature, to chip away our opponent's life, to chump block, whatever the situation demands. You can use Dragon Master Outcast for. However, Dragon Master Outcast doesn't really come into full force until turn 6. Turn 6. So if you play Dragon Master Outcast on turn 5 and Dragon Master Outcast survives until turn 6. Oh no, it would be playing on turn 6 into turn 7. If at the beginning of our upkeep we control 6 or more lands, we create a 5/5 red dragon creature token with flying. Sorry, I'm misreading there. I know what the card does, don't worry, I promise. Yeah, so that effect stacks every turn. Oh, every upkeep that we have. If Dragon Master Outcast is alive and we've got 6 or more lands, we're creating a 5/5 flying dragon token. So it stacks. That's crazy. It's a free creature. It's a free big creature. It's a creature that needs dealing with. So really Dragon Master Outcast is in there for the later game, but it does have other uses in terms of just chump blocking or whatever. Our next 1-drop is 2 copies of Shock. You could run more if you want. I'll explain why I don't. I run 2 copies of Shock because I'm running 3 copies of Bone Crusher Giant, and lots of just 2 damage here and there doesn't feel enough. I would take Shock out completely for something else, but it feels like we need the cheap burn just to control the board presence in terms of against mono red and elves, get rid of their little rampy dudes and all other bits and pieces. Now technically not a 1-drop, but Banefire. X and 1 red. So we know what it does. Banefire deals X damage to any target. If it's 5 or more, can't be countered and damage can't be prevented. This helps us get rid of the bigger creatures in the early game that we can't really deal with. It also helps us finish off our opponent, especially control decks. There's many in there for control matchups. Does what it says on the tin. Now onto our rampy bits. Our first piece of ramp is Dragonlord's Servant. 4 copies of, very important to get this out as early as possible. It makes our dragon spells cost 1 less to cast. It also survives Shock, which is great, and it's usually something our opponent will try and deal with. You want to spend your removal on a little 1/3, you go for it. He's only there to help me cast my dragons, which I'll be doing anyway, so you're wasting your removal. But anyway, yeah, so get him down, and that links in with our other pieces of removal I'll get to in a second. Other 2 drops are 2 copies of Lava Coil because graveyard shenanigans, and also sometimes creatures don't die to Shock. Simple as. So Dragonlord Servant links up with Dragon Speaker Shaman and Sarkhan Fireblight. Dragon Speaker Shaman. Our dragon spells cost 2 less to cast. Dragon Lord Servant into Dragon Speaker Shaman means a turn for Drakuseth. Dragon Lord Servant into Sarkhan Fireblood, ticking up for 2 mana to cast on dragon spells, equals turn 4 Drakuseth. Pretty much. That's pretty much what he does. However, Dragon Speaker does die to shock, which is a bummer. Obviously, Sarkhan also gives us card advantage. We can draw, discard. Discard to then draw. So we're mana flooding, get rid of land. Okay, shock's useless because it's a big control deck. Get rid of shock, draw a card, etc. Whatever. Situational. If for some miracle Sarkhan survives until he has 7 or more power, or loyalty, sorry. That's the Gwent player in me coming out. We can -7 him to make 4 5/5 red dragons. Our last 3-drop, also technically a 2-drop, is Bonecrusher Giant. Obviously, play his Stomp instant to deal 2 damage to any target, and it can't be prevented. We can then cast him on turn 3 if needs be as a 4/3, good blocker, good attacker, creature that usually needs dealing with. He can just sit there and just chump block all day long. He also does 2 damage to a spell's controller if that spell targets Bonecrusher Giant. So again, this is some passive damage, which is nice. Our 4-drops are limited. Yeah, it maybe needs a little bit of tweaking. But our 4-drops are just 2 copies of Chandra, or Chandra, however you want to say it, Torch of Defiance. Again, card advantage in her +1, mana ramp in her other +1, her -3 deals 4 damage to any target, great removal, and her -7, whenever we cast a spell, the emblem deals 5 damage to any target. Never really use that, kind of just tick up either for the card advantage or the mana ramp, and then just keep ticking her down to deal her creatures, usually is how I'm playing her at the moment. Seems fine by me. Also the card advantage, if we don't play the card that's exiled, it just pings 2 damage at our opponent. As you'll see, we get a lot of passive damage in the forms of Bonecrusher Giant, Chandra, the other Chandra, the Terror of the Peaks. Lots of passive damage, which chips away at our opponent, puts them under pressure, puts them on a clock, and then when we play our big creatures, they know they're boned. Yeah, so a dragon deck wouldn't be complete without the other Sarkhan the Masterless. So when we have loads and loads of dragons out, even the tokens, he's got does a great defense for protecting our planeswalkers. So whenever a creature attacks you or a planeswalker you control, whenever a creature attacks you or a planeswalker you control, I'm a terrible English teacher. Each dragon you control deals 1 damage to that creature. So if we got 4 dragons out and they attack with a 4/4, that 4/4 is dead, or 1/4, whatever. You get the drift. If they're a weenie deck and we just got a couple of dragons out, they're probably not attacking because all weenie dudes will die. Anyway, there's +1 until end of turn. Each planeswalker you control becomes a 4/4 dragon creature and gains flying. This works really well with Terror of the Peaks because whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, Terror of the Peaks deals damage equal to that creature's power to any target. So if we have 3 planeswalkers out, suddenly turn them all into 4/4 dragons, we're dealing 4, 8, 12 damage wherever we choose. Brilliant. And his -3 obviously just creates a dragon. If we're under pressure, we can play him and just -3 him straight away. Lots of things. I really like Sarkhan the Masterless. Sarkhan's my favourite planeswalker, not gonna lie. So, anyway, on to finally the dragons. 3 copies of Skagan Hellgate. Oh man, Hellkite. Riot and flying. Unless I just need to play the hasty dragon just to finish off my opponent, I'll usually always play the Riot with a +1/+1 counter, because his ability that we can pay for 4 mana to deal 2 damage divided as I choose among one of 2 targets. We need a +1/+1 counter on Skagan Hellkite to use that ability. Again, it's more passive chipping damage. We've got passive chip here, we've got passive chip here, we've got passive chip here. Passive chip here if they target that. Also, more passive chip with Terror of the Hell Peaks. If they target our dragon, they have to pay an additional 3 life to cast that. So we've got a lot of passive chipping damage, which is great, and also a 5/5, a 5/4, or a 4/4, whatever you want. Very, very dangerous in the air. So, again, dragons are the boss. On to our final two cards. Essentially, these help us close out the game very quickly. Drakuseth, more of flames. Again, we can play him from hopefully turn 4. A 7/7 dragon with flying. Like, even if they had full health, that's a 3-turn clock, which is insane. It's probably actually a 2-turn clock, sorry. If they've got no creatures out, it's a 2-turn clock. If they've got creatures out, we can board wipe them, because Drakuseth's ability, whenever Drakuseth attacks, it deals 4 damage to any target. That can be a player or planeswalker creatures, and 3 damage to each of up to 2 other targets. So if they've got 3 creatures out, it could be a board wipe. Planeswalkers, gone. Your face, I'm burning it. Essentially, when Drakuseth attacks, if there's no blockers or they don't deal with it, to the face, we can pretty much always deal 10 or 11 damage, depending on what we need. From turn 4, come on, ridiculous. Red burn decks won't be able to deal with that very easily, in fact, if they can at all. And finally, Chandra, Awakened Inferno. Spell can't be countered. Screw you, control decks. +2 gives our opponent an emblem with, at the beginning of their upkeep, deals 1 damage to them. We can just keep ticking that up, and each turn they can be taking 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. Just passive damage. Again, chipping, lots of chipping damage, which is nice. We can -3 to deal 3 damage to each non-elemental creature. So we can board wipe smaller decks, smaller creatures, or -X to deal X damage to target creature or planeswalker. And if that permanent would die, it's exiled. So we can get rid of other planeswalkers very easily. I have no problem with playing Chandra and then -6ing her. Like, -6 to deal 6 damage to something that's going to win our opponent the game. Usually that's not necessary. It would probably be like, play it. If they've got 1 creature out, -X. If they've got a couple of creatures out, -3. Whatever we need. The deck works really well. So far I haven't lost a single game I've played with this, but I have only played like 3 or 4 games, but I've won each one. I will be putting in gameplay videos after this video. You'll probably want to see it, so don't worry, it's coming. Onto the lands. 3 Castle Embereth. Could probably fit in 4. Again, it's a token issue for me. I've only got 6 rare left. 1 Forgotten Cave. Don't want tap lands really, but it's good for late game. It's also good for cycling if we're stuck. And then just 21 mountains. Very, very simple. Very, very simple. Sideboard. This is the best of 1, I should have said. Best of 1. Sideboard I'm working on if we want to make tweaks for best of 2. I was thinking Goblin Gathering for decks that are going wide. Again, Flame Sweep for the board wipe kind of thing. But this main deck would change a fair amount for the best of 2, but there's lots of things you could have in the sideboard. I probably have more Chandra, Awakened Inferno in the sideboard for the control matchups. More removal, possibly. I don't really know. Best of 2, I don't know. Not even sure. May even have a few smaller creatures to swap in and out for the ramp. It's all, we'll get to that in another video. I haven't spent a huge amount of time thinking about the best of 2s. Best of 1, wanted to play some dragons. Does really well. Give us a thumbs up, guys. That'd be good. Let me know what you think of the deck. Let me know if you want to have some matches, have some challenges, like play against each other. That'd be cool. That is me tuning out.